Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm MaffmanJones. This is what I'm gonna do for the next year and so on and so forth. Whenever I get the chance, I'm gonna try to dedicate myself to it. I really want to. Yeah, well, guess what? You lied, you stupid son of a bitch. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 100th video special, the MaffmanJones questions and answers video, the resolution. A little while ago, I asked you guys to comment and ask some questions in the comment box, and I got more than what I bargained for, and I was very heartwarmed by that. You know, it's almost been a year of movie reviewing, and I can't believe it's been that long. I mean, in the past year, there's been so many sexy women, so much intercourse, and a lot of drug-inducing and booze drinking and other things like that. But you don't want to know that. You just want me to answer these questions. Any questions that came to me from other social media sites other than YouTube. And one measly question came from Facebook from a coworker. You know who you are. And he says, "What is your favorite guilty pleasure movie? Be honest." I'll give you my favorite guilty pleasure movie. It's Space Jam. Because Space Jam is a terrible, terrible movie by all standards, but it's also my childhood. If I had to compare Space Jam to anything in this world, it would be the rising of Jesus Christ after 3 days in the tomb. And now on to the YouTube questions. First question comes from a good friend and a fellow YouTuber who I was inspired by before I started making videos, a Tyler Christian film. If you were to become a filmmaker, which I aspire to be, which 5 directors would you say inspired you the most? Well, right off the bat, I could say Steven Spielberg and J.J. Abrams, mainly because they both have a really inspiring passion for movies. Steven Spielberg made some of my favorite movies of all time, and you name E.T., Jurassic Park, freaking Jaws. He's made a lot of classic movies, and I saw a lot of his movies when I was really young. And he was the first director I was exposed to, so that really gives a feeling too. Others I would say are Martin Scorsese, because he makes incredible movies, and I was exposed to him when I was young too. Christopher Nolan, Mr. Sir Nolan, the greatest director of our generation, in my opinion, at this moment, because he's made some really great films, and he's also a great filmmaker, and he knows how to mix raw pop entertainment with gripping drama. Dark Knight is the perfect example of that. And my last is Quentin Tarantino, because Quentin Tarantino made Pulp Fiction, and that movie is one of the best movies of all time, and his directing style is something that's very unique and will not be duplicated ever. Second question comes from Code Cool. "Hey Mothman, what does it take to be a good YouTuber, and how did I start?" Well, I've only been here for like 10 months, so I don't think I know what it takes to be a good YouTuber yet, but I would imagine as I go forward is that to make decent content, at least decent watchable content for people to watch, also extreme interaction with your audience. You also need to be very likable. You have to have a really good personality. You have to have handsome, good looks, which I have very intensely. And you just have to have good intentions. And how I started, I've been on YouTube since 2005. I've been around the whole damn time. I made my first channel in 2006. It was like Sport Legend 2-3 something or something like that, and that's where I just watched videos. In 2009, I started making actual videos with friends, and I actually had some really cool things going on. And I was going to start reviewing in 2009, but that failed for some reason. I never found the motivation to do it until this year when Contraband came out. And not that that was a bad movie, I actually enjoyed it kind of much, a little bit. But I just felt like that was the year. It was the beginning of the year, it was January, it was time to start fresh, and I just thought, you know what, this is the time to do it. And everybody has their certain time to do something in life, and that was the time for me. Juan Tamas says, "Congratulations, Mothman." Thank you, Juan. "What's your favorite vampire movie, and what do you expect about Iron Man 3? Well, right off the bat, I have to say Twilight's one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. I haven't seen a lot of vampire movies that I really love. I guess you can go back to the 1930s original film, but I don't really love it. I appreciate it for what it did for cinema. I would have to say 30 Days of Night, because when I saw that movie for the first time, it scared me, and it also inspired me in an artistic way. I don't know, just something about the movie was really awesome. The first trailer indicated to me at least, and it gave me the impression that Iron Man 3 will be a great third movie in a trilogy, and I think it will be just as strong as the first Iron Man and maybe Avengers. And I think it could be one of the best summer blockbusters of the following year coming up. Sims3 Loser asks, what's your favorite movie? Well, to answer that question, I go by a philosophy, and that philosophy is that as a movie lover, or anybody for that matter, you can't have one favorite movie, because there's so many movies out there that span the decades that it's impossible to have one. Back to the Future is definitely in my top 5. It just has all the best aspects of a great movie, great characters, a great story, just great visuals, great music. It's just everything. Jurassic Park is up there, Goodfellas, the original Spider-Man, because that did a lot for me. Die Hard, Alien, so John McClane's an alien now, I guess. What are your least favorite comic book, graphic novel movies of all time? My favorite comic movies of all time. Let's go around the clock. We got the first 2 Spider-Man movies, the second X-Men movie, First Class, The Avengers, the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. My least favorite comic book movies of all time include Fantastic Four, 1994. If you've never seen it or never knew about it, there's a Fantastic Four movie that came out in the early 90s, which I have a copy of, and it's very rare. I don't know how I have it, but I do, and it is 10 times worse than the original Fantastic Four movie from 2005. It is god-awful. And also Green Lantern, because I was so looking forward to that movie, Green Lantern. I thought it could have been like the Star Wars of comic book movies. It could have been great. Ended up being fucking dog shit. What are the worst movies you've seen in your entire life? Well, this might sound really stupid and just might sound very unrealistic, but aside from The Apparition and Piranha 3 Double D and a couple other movies that I can't come to recall, I haven't seen anything remotely terrible that made me want to shoot myself, because before I review movies, I tend to stay away from movies that look bad. What are your favorite TV shows / movies by Joss Whedon? Well, considering I've only seen The Avengers and parts of The Buffy show, The Avengers and parts of The Buffy show. What are your favorite guilty pleasure movies, TV shows? I already answered this question, but Troll 2 and Batman and Robin. And Space Jam again, because Troll 2 is, my god, an awful movie, but I could watch it over and over to have a good laugh. What are your favorite TV shows ever in general? Well, Breaking Bad, Jesse, we gotta cook. Lost, as complicated as that show got, I still love it for what it was, and I thought it was a very inspirational show. And I cried at the season finale. Shut up. Green Arc Reviews, a good friend of mine, Noah, asks, hey John, where is that Oogie Loves the Big Balloon Adventure review? All of us are waiting for it. Okay, thanks, bye. No. The Noodle 97 asks a few questions. The first being, if I could remake any movie, what would it be? I would remake and reboot the first Fantastic Four movie because I love comic books, and if I become a director one day, which I aspire to do, I would like to make a comic book movie. And Fantastic Four is a great lore of it, there's a great family aspect, and some great villains. Galactus, who was a cloud, and just I really would love to make and just redeem that. If I could adapt any book, comic book, or TV show into a movie, what would it be? Well, almost every comic book is becoming a movie nowadays. I don't sit well with remaking a TV show into a movie, and for a book, Artemis Fowl? And which director and actor would you like to work with the most if you had the chance? Thanks, John. Well, thanks, Noodle. And if I had to work with one director, if I get the chance to one day, I would love to. Steven Spielberg, because he is my biggest inspiration, and God giving the will that he will be alive someday when I'm making movies. I would love, oh man, like he is everything to me in terms of directing. And an actor? I don't know. You know what? Chris Evans. You want to know why Chris Evans? Because he's such a genuine guy, aside from being an actor, and he's just very charismatic, and he's just one of these actors who I've come to really love over the years. Good friend the random mine asks this very simple question. Born or Bond? Well, that was supposed to be a LOL, but that kind of came off like a dying elephant. Bond. James Bond. Get your martini, shaken, not stirred. Yeah, because James Bond is the shit, and he will forever be the shit. Bourne is cool too, but Bond will forever be my hero. The Smackdown asks 4 questions. The first being, what is the best decade of movies, and which movie was your favorite from that decade? The 1980s, in my opinion, and Back to the Future. What is one movie that you can't live without? Oh, that's a question. Since I don't want to say Back to the Future again, Jurassic Park, because that movie is glorious, and it has some of the best composed music ever, and Jeff Goldblum, the species that can't be ignored. If you were to make a movie about yourself, who would get to play you? Who would I get to play me? I would love for Joseph Gordon-Levitt to play me someday, if I ever have an autobiography movie. But realistically, go back a few years and get Tobey Maguire from Pleasantville. And finally, what is your favorite movie franchise or movie trilogy of all time? I'm going to pick 2 because I can't pick 1 for this. Star Wars, the original trilogy that was untampered with back in the day, and Lord of the Rings. Pop-Tarts. What was your favorite movie review to do? The Avengers. Because I saw that movie almost a month early, and I was so ecstatic coming out of that theater in New York City, April 14th, that I just couldn't wait to talk about everything about that movie. And if you were to become a superhero, what would my name be? And what would my power be? Well, I already think MaffmanJones is a cool name enough, so I would be MaffmanJones. Not to sound selfish. And my powers would be a mix between Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's awesome, and the ingenuity of Tony Stark, because Tony Stark is awesome too. Mr. Angry Retard asks a few questions, one being, thoughts on the movie business right now? I would say I'm pretty neutral on it, but I mean the actual aspects of working in the business are extremely difficult. I mean, there are so many struggling actors and directors out there trying to get their name out, and that's going to be a very big feat for me to try to do one day, or even now. And, I mean, in terms of movies themselves, we're getting some really good movies still. I mean, people say originality is dead. I don't think so. We're still getting a lot of good movies. What do you like to do for fun? Well, aside from snorting massive amounts of coke, hanging out with friends, going to the movies, having a good time in the city, traveling. I love traveling. And I just love living life. What are some of my favorite TV shows of all time and present? Well, I already answered that question. Breaking Bad and Lost are the top 2 for me. And his final question for me is, do you like bacon? Well, I made a video spoofing a Coen Brothers movie called People Who Stare at Bacon. So that should say enough about my opinion and appreciation of bacon. But yeah, I love bacon a lot. And if bacon happened to be a woman I met at a club, let's just say I'd pork that pig. That was stupid. Chicken Noodle Soup 555X. In your opinion, what is the most underrated movie you have ever seen? Love your videos, bro. Thank you, Chicken Noodle Soup. Really, I appreciate that comment. 50-50, which stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Seth Rogen. That movie is a mix of comedy, drama, and emotion. Just raw, gripping emotion. And it's such a great movie, but nobody talks about it. Nobody. And it's very criminally underrated. People need to see this movie pronto because it'll change your outlook on life, or at least enhance your outlook on life. And finally, the last question comes from Movie Fan 978. He has 2 questions. What films have provided a strong inspiration for reviewing films or wanting to make them? Well, I can tell you, every Steven Spielberg movie that dates from his earliest Duel to like Jurassic Park or Minority Report, Pulp Fiction, The Dark Knight, when I first saw that, that was one of the first movies I saw that was intellectual and also entertaining, and it just got me this, whoa! But I mean, I've been wanting to make movies since I was like 6 or 7, and that just dates back to like James Cameron movies and Steven Spielberg movies, like I said before. What genre would you most like to make films in? That's really hard to pronounce out loud. You could have worded that better. I'm just kidding. But yeah. As aspiring director, I would love to work in various genres, not just one. I don't want to be typecasted as like the action guy or the comedy guy. I would most love to work in sci-fi because sci-fi is just a very broad genre that just brings out the most originality and creativity in everybody. And oh my god, can you imagine the storyboards and just art, like everything for sci-fi would just be magnificent. And I would just like, it would be a pain in the ass to make a sci-fi movie, but I would love to work in that. I definitely want to make comedies, because comedies can be really funny, even though very subjective. And finally, action, but the kind of action that provokes emotion and depth, kind of like the movies that Brad Bird, J.J. Abrams, and Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan do, because they make action movies that have, you know, meaning. And now we come to the conclusion of the first MaffmanJones Q&A video, also my 100th video, which is a milestone for me. I can't believe I made it this far. I plan to continue this for years to come, make more Q&As for you guys in the future. I love you guys. Keep being amazing, and just, I love you all. Once again, I am John Maffio from MaffmanJones Reviews. You stay classy, YouTube. God, thank God that's over. Where's my cup of scotch? I've been craving it all day. It's Thirsty Thursday, damn it.